Welcome once again to Bio 211D Plant Physiology, Unit 3, Session 4, Osmosis and Plant-Water Relations. And by the close of this session, students should be able to define osmosis, show the relationship between plant cell structure and water movement by osmosis, draw a typical plant cell with annotation to show the cell membranes that determine water movement into and out of the cell, relate water potential, solute potential, and pressure potential to movement of water into the cell by osmosis. Osmosis can be defined as a net movement of water molecules from pure water or a weaker solution, that's dilute solution, with more water proportion, to a stronger solution, that's concentrated solution with less water proportion, through a partially permeable membrane which separates the two solutions. Therefore, osmosis may be thought of as a special type of diffusion in which water molecules move across a partially permeable membrane. A partially permeable membrane is a unit membrane that allows some substances to pass freely, others to pass slowly, and still others to hardly pass at all. So during osmosis, water molecules which are polar in nature move across the membrane via hydrophilic pores found within intrinsic protein molecules in the structure of the cell membrane. Here is a typical example of a plant structure showing the various parts with regards to water relations of the cell. So osmosis and water movement into the plant cell. The plant cell is surrounded by a cell wall and a cell membrane. The cell wall is freely permeable to water and substances in solution, hence it is not a barrier to movement. In plants, the cells usually contain a large central vacuum whose contents, the vacuolar sap, contribute to the solute potential of the cell. In plant cells, the cell membrane and the membrane of the vacuum, the tonoplasts together, are important determinants of movement of molecules in or out of the cell. Osmosis, as defined earlier, is the term used to refer specifically to the diffusion of water across a partially permeable membrane. Osmosis occurs spontaneously in response to a driving force. The net direction and rate of osmosis depends on both the pressure gradient and concentration gradient. So the net direction and rate of osmosis depends on both the pressure gradient and concentration gradient. Water will move from its region of higher chemical potential or concentration to its region of lower chemical potential until equilibrium is reached. At equilibrium, the concentration of water inside the cell and outside the cell must be the same. That is to say that at equilibrium, the water potential inside the cell must be the same as outside the cell. You would have noticed that we mentioned chemical potential in passing. What is chemical potential? Chemical potential is the free energy per mole of molecules. It is a measure of the energy content of particles in a system, and therefore of their tendency to diffuse spontaneously from one place to another. Free energy includes the velocity or kinetic motions of the particles and their rotational and vibrational energies at a given temperature. The chemical potential of water can be referred to as its water potential. So for practical purposes, the water potential of a system is defined as the differences in chemical potential of water in this system and that of pure water at the same temperature and pressure. It is usually expressed in pressure units or kilopascals or bars. Plant physiologists now use the term water potential when describing the tendency of water molecules to move from one place to another. Water potential is a measure of the tendency of water to leave a solution. A higher water potential implies a greater tendency to leave. In plant cells, Water potential has two main components: osmotic potential, solute potential, and pressure potential. You can go back to section 3 to review your notes on pressure potential. Let us now find that what the relationship between osmotic potential and solute potential has to do with regards to water movement into the cell. Osmotic potential is defined as the component of water potential that is due to the presence of solutes. So the presence of solute particles decrease the free energy and hence the chemical potential of the water molecules. Thus, in a cell system, an increase in the solute concentration will lower its water potential and so cause an inflow of water into the cell. Osmotic potential is also a measure of the tendency of a solution to pull water into it when it is separated by a partially permeable membrane. It always has a negative value. The term solute potential is the new name for osmotic potential. So you can see that osmotic potential has an inverse relationship to the water potential. When the osmotic potential is high, because solute concentration is high, water potential is low and vice versa. So the osmotic potential of a plant cell is defined as the component of the cell's water potential that is due to the presence of solutes. So in review, osmosis has been seen as a special type of diffusion that allows water molecules to move across partially permeable membranes, and that this movement is influenced by the water potential. Solute potential and pressure potential, which are themselves dependent on the chemical potential and the free energy inherent in solute and water molecules. The plant cell, with the principal cell membrane serving as partially permeable membranes to movement of water, was also